Okay, so here's the term skill stack. This is where it came from. When I was at IBM, and we're going to show you how to make your own skill stack. It's not that hard how to make one and how to track it. Um, a skill stack is just a way of knowing what you should learn. So we recently did a video about knowing the activities you want, what jobs have those activities, what employers hire for that, and what are the specific um, quintessential skills that you need to get that job, and then start writing down what those employers have to tell you, what are the titles, what are the all of the terms and everything. And that part can be a little bit overwhelming because you're like, man, they're talking about all this stuff, right? Well, if you've already asked them the thing, what is the one most important thing, you've already started your skill stack, right? That's the first item, the first line item in your skill stack. So I'm going to describe an activity that I came up with kind of accidentally when I was trying to do a job change. And I'll tell you a little story about that. So when I was at IBM, at one point in my career, I realized that my career was kind of happening to me instead of me controlling the career. I think that happens to everybody at a certain point. And I was writing, I was doing third level support for software that tattletaled on, whether they were paying enough for Tivoli software. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go get another job. And I started interviewing, and a kind of funny failure that I had. I actually interviewed for an educational job. It was creating educational software, primarily web stuff. And I had been employed. I was Nike's webmaster, for God's sake. So I thought, okay, this will be no problem. But I hadn't been keeping my skills up for 10 years or so. So I'd written JavaScript, I'd written LiveScript, before many of these people that ultimately interviewed me had even been born. But it didn't matter. So I went into this job interview, and it's kind of embarrassing, but I went into this job, and it was one of these live things, right? Show us the thing. It was a little bit of a lead codey thing. Not really. It was mostly just to get a sense of it. And they said, we'll start with something simple. Show us how you parse JSON. And I did not know JSON.parse. I knew it existed. I've never used it. I wrote mostly Perl and C, my entire career. And so I told the guy I knew I could do it, but I didn't. So I ended up writing a regular expression JSON parser in Perl. And this young person who kind of annoyed me at the time says, "Well, so do you think there's a simpler way?" And the way they talked down to me, I wanted to reach through that phone or that whatever that thing the internet was and just slap that kid. I was so pissed. I mean, this little pipsqueak who was like in diapers when I was building the freaking internet, literally through two internet service providers, was talking down to me about parsing JSON, and I did not like that. I did not like that. I was so mad, and you know what? Sometimes that kind of you need you need an experience like that. I wasn't mad at him, but he was the messenger, and the message was, "Hey, old man, you have forgotten to keep your skills stack up to date." That was the message. And he just happened to be the messenger. So obviously I didn't get it. The recruiter that I had interviewed with that got me the position, he says, well, they really like you. They like your energy and your experience, but they just want you to come back once you have more of the basic skills that they need. I went, oh my God. Okay. And I knew better, but my hubris had made it think that, oh, hey, I could go into these jobs and get it no matter what, just because, I can do anything. I can learn anything fast enough. And I can learn pretty much anything. So I immediately set forward to never ever have that happen again. And that is when I built my first skill stack. And all I did is I took a piece of paper. At the time, I started making a little app for it. But you don't need that. You just need a piece of paper with 3 columns. Really, that's it. Maybe just 2 columns, 3 columns. And the one column, the one column is just reference points, acronyms, titles of languages, concepts, all the stuff that you're going to think that you're going to hear about. And and then the middle column is going to be a number, it's going to be a ranking, and then the third column. Now, I've actually done this video already, so I'm having a hard time because I'm redoing the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you. So to do a skill stack is very simple. You start. You remember that whole thing about writing that number one thing that's going to help you get the job from your employer, the potential employer that you asked. Put that down. In my case, it would have been Perl, right? And then I would have given myself a rank in the first column. And I'm using, I actually interviewed for a Google job and they gave me their ranking system. Let me tell you this ranking system really quickly, which I also already did in another video, but I'm going to do it again. So 0 is, I have no idea what it is. Somebody said this thing and I need to know what it is. I have no idea. 1 is, I know what it is. I can tell you what it is, but I have no idea how to use it or do it. 2 is, it's kind of an experimental knowledge. I'm messing around with it. I'm sort of dangerous. You know, I know what's up, but I can tell you about it enough and I can kind of have a sense of it. 3 means that I could be gainfully employed doing it. That means I have the minimum necessary skill to meet the needs of any job that required that thing, right? 4 is, 4, it means that you are kind of the SME, you're the subject matter expert on the topic with your group, your localized group of, your team. They come to you when they have a question about Perl, for example. In my case, I'm that way on my team for Go. I am definitely the SME on my team for Go. I have the most experience in it among the 12 people on my team or so. And they regularly come to me to bounce ideas and make sure that I am the one who reviews the stuff. So, and then beyond that is a 5. And a 5 means that you have kind of larger scope. So outside of your immediate team, not only are you the team expert, but you're giving conferences internally within your company. You're regularly being asked to present at meetups. And everything above that, from 6 to 10, 10 being I invented it. I am Larry Wall. I invented Perl in that case. And again, this is Google who made this. And then, but 6 would mean, I'm regularly doing conference presentations and I'm gainfully employed doing this. People pay me a lot of money to assign direction. 7 would be something like I'm on the board. I help make directional decisions on the Go team. I regularly, core contributor. Again, 8, 9, it's all different levels of, real solid mastery and organization and leadership at the level of above 5. So most of us will never get above 5 in most of the things that we need to do. But our goal should be a 3. We should definitely be a 3 in anything that someone tells us we need to learn to get the job, right? Now, the reason that we're having a column here is because you're gonna hear about things that you're gonna hear about them. It's gonna make you very uncomfortable. You're gonna be like, I don't know what that is. So in order to not freak out, write it down anyway. And then you may come back, once you learn what it is, you go, well, that has nothing to do with what I want to do in my job or anything. Then you put, where you're at. So you're a 0, now you're a 1, right? Because you know what it is. So you just write it down, you write a 0, and then you figure out what it is, and you make yourself a 1. And then, but then here's where the third column comes in. The more that you get into knowing about your employer and the key skills. So there's that one skill that you asked your employer. Remember, you said, what is the one thing that I need to learn to get a job here? That thing goes in the other column. And in that specific thing, you probably want to put a 5 or a 3 or at least a 3, right? So in my case, in that time, using my example, it would be Perl, and I would have had in the there's 3 columns. There's the title, there's where I am and where I want to be or where I need to be, and then that last column I would put a 5, because I not only do I want to be employable, I want to be so employable that they can't resist me. As soon as they see me and they see my skills and I can produce the trust, they're going to be, oh my God, we have to have this guy. I don't care how we're going to get him. We have to hire them. And that's, by the way, that's a really fun place to be. It is so much fun to be in that, especially if you've been, just begging for work for so long. But once you become an expert in something, it is extremely satisfying. So much so that you got to watch out, because you can become Anakin Skywalker, and that's a separate video. Beware of Anakin syndrome. Make sure you watch that one. So that's the skill stack. That's it. And once you get your skill stack done, you just keep that piece of paper and you modify it. You change your numbers based on how you're tweaking your job opportunities. And in my opinion, you should keep 2 of them circled, either circled or squared, 2 of the line items, right? And that is the thing that you're working on currently that you have to do, but you don't want to do because it's hard and it's not as fun. And the thing that you have to do that's also really, really fun. And I like to have 2 of those things. You don't have to do this, but I like that, because then when you're, strapped for motivation, you can work with your best brain power and motivation on the hard thing. And then when your desire to work on that wanes, you can fail over to the fun thing without going to watch a movie or something. Nothing wrong with relaxing, but that's what I like about having, there's always two things. And the really great thing about having your own little paper based skill stack app is that it really gives you direction. It makes you feel like you know exactly what to do. And if you feel like you've gotten that one specific line item to where it needs to be, find the next line item. You know what I mean? You don't you're not being inundated with a huge, collection of all the things that you need to learn in this job listing. You are just focused. You're totally focused on that one thing and the other fun thing or whatever, one or two things at a time. And when you do that, it will work and you will master that thing. You'll produce evidence of that mastery, and we'll talk about how to do all of that through the boost. But that is how you get the job, because you're now focused on the things that are, what the job it takes, what the specific skills are that you need to build, and you're tracking your skill stack in a way that is manageable and approachable. That means it's not overwhelming you. If there's so much to learn in tech that if you don't do this, and this happened to me because I was trying to get back into tech and I was like, well, damn, I don't know JSON very well. Do I really need to learn it? And so I started just, writing everything down just to get it out of my head. And then I could go back and evaluate whether I needed it or not. So that's how you track your own skill stack. It's also the name. That's also the name of the company, Skillstack, Skilstak. That's where that came from. And that's, it's the basis of the entire boost. We are going to be specifically helping you put blocks into your stack for most of the rest of the boost. But starting out with the stack and having you manage your own is an important part of the beginning of this whole thing.